It's not official yet, but it's my not so hot take that personalized ads based on your chat history are coming to ChatGPT very soon. You could almost say that's a given, but this is Hot Take Tuesday. So here's my hot take. I'm actually looking forward to personalized ChatGPT ads, and I think they'll ultimately be better for not only consumers, but also for businesses. And I'm obviously not making this proclamation empty handed, obviously. So, on today's show, I'm going to lay out the 9 very convincing reasons personalized ads are coming to ChatGPT soon and also prepare you for what that means. Because I think it's going to be a seismic shift that we all have to be ready for because the future of the internet will be based on not traditional advertising, the ecosystem that Google and Meta have dominated for a decade plus. Now, the future of the internet is going to be based on conversational commerce. And I think that OpenAI is in prime position to be the leader. So let's get into the 9 reasons why. All right. Hope you're excited for today's show. I am. Let's get into it. Welcome to Everyday AI. My name is Jordan Wilson, and this is your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders like you and me make sense of these nonstop AI updates, translate them into normal talk, and use that to grow our companies and our careers. That's what we do. It starts here with the unedited, unscripted live stream podcast. But if you want to be the smartest person in AI at your company or your department, that happens on our website, youreverydayai.com. There you can go sign up for our free daily newsletter. We're going to be recapping not just the highlights from today's show, but also everything else happening in the world of AI. Because, yeah, today there was a ton. I'm going to say in the newsletter, I think it's probably been one of the busiest 24 hours in AI news. Yeah, Amazon axing 30,000 jobs, a lot going on. So make sure to check out the newsletter. But by the end of today's show, stick with me for 25, 30 minutes. Let's see. But by the end of today's show, you'll understand why personalized ChatGPT ads are inevitable. You're going to know the 9 tipping points that ensure it's actually happening. And you might even, by the end, agree with me that this is actually a good thing. Depends on what you think of personalized ads. Also, I put together a doozy for y'all. All right. So we put together a personalized ad playbook. This is one of those I should charge people for. I could, sell this for a couple $100s on the website. But all you got to do, if you're listening on the podcast, we always put in our show notes a link to the LinkedIn live stream. So go repost this, and we're going to give you the personalized ad playbook, which includes a 7-week conversational launch plan, high intent offers that don't feel like ads, and the executive readiness scorecard. Yeah, this one's a good one. All right. So let's get into it, though. What's happening? We have to zoom out first before we can zoom in to why ChatGPT ads are happening. Well, mainly, OpenAI is in the middle of a transition from a nonprofit research lab, which is what they were founded as, to a for-profit company, right? A company that's currently has a market cap of $500 billion, the last one. And I actually think it's probably closer to 600,000 based on some recent events. And it's kind of OpenAI's position is built on 3 things. And these 9 reasons are kind of based on these 3 pillars. It's memory, their new browser, and commerce. Those 3 things are very interconnected when it comes to the future of how the internet's going to work. And this is a direct challenge to the only 2 players that I think are doing anything, which is Meta, handling digital advertising on the social side, and Google handling it on the search engine and retargeting, remarketing. And you also have to understand this goes along with kind of like almost this dead internet theory, and the fact that SEO has been kind of dying, or traditional SEO, because so many people don't go to websites anymore. They just talk to chatbots about everything, right? Which might be problematic, right? Because you have people, many millions of people using ChatGPT as an example as a therapist. But that does create an interesting future predicament for advertising. We also have to quickly look at CEO Sam Altman's shift on advertising, because just over a year ago, he essentially detested ads. He was poo-poo on ads, right? He said that he hates ads and he called them a last resort when asked if ChatGPT or OpenAI would ever use them. And he said the combination of AI plus ads is uniquely unsettling, but his tune has changed. So he did say that embracing ads could be potentially helpful and even a net win for users, personally saying he saw some ads on Instagram that he found helpful. And why is this happening? Is it just because the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world has had a personal change of feelings towards ads? Well, you could make that argument, but no, that's not it. Well, what's different than a year ago or early 2024 when these comments first came is, well, now OpenAI has raised tens of billions of dollars. And guess what happens when you raise tens of billions of dollars? As an example, SoftBank, one company, reportedly $30 billion they've invested in OpenAI. You know what happens when you have many companies that have invested many of billions of dollars into your company that is losing money? Well, you got to have a plan and you have to say, here's how we're going to start monetizing. And that plan, which I'm going to get to later, involves a number. That number is 700 plus million. That is the number of free OpenAI or ChatGPT subscribers that I think are going to be seeing personalized ads soon. So we'll see if paid users, those paying 20 or 25 for a team plan or $200 for a plus plan. We'll see if those users, 200 for a pro plan. So we'll see if plus teams or pro users get ads, but it's inevitable. That's the hot take. It's coming, especially for free users. But I think it's actually a good thing. So it's not if, it's when, because they're happening. And here's the 9 reasons I won't make you wait any longer. Number 1, the burn rate. OpenAI, admittedly and reportedly, according to reports, is burning money. Up to certain publications have said $8.5 billion that they're burning through each year. Also, just kind of reference Sam Altman's 180-degree turn on ads. That's number 2. Number 3 is, the number of users. They are straight up dominating the AI chatbot game with 800 million weekly active users. Number 4, the ChatGPT memory personalization engine. Number 5, the metification of OpenAI staff. We're going to talk about that information report that just came out. Number 6, the Atlas browser having control of the data. Number 7, ChatGPT apps being able to bring in new data and surfaces. Number 8, the agent kind of checkout protocol and the instant checkout. And then number 9, proactive delivery via ChatGPT Pulse. All right, we're going to go into each one of these a little bit more. But let's talk about recently. Those 9 things, not all of them have been recent, but about half of them have just happened in the last about 5 weeks. Yeah. So OpenAI, I don't think that this is a secret anymore, right? They haven't straight up said, yes, we are confirmed bringing personalized ads, but they have said, whereas a year or 2 ago, they were a little mum on it, but they said that they're looking at it as an option and they're hiring a head of monetization. So let's just look at the past 5 weeks, right? OpenAI's full strategy has been laid out by their last couple of releases. So ChatGPT Pulse, which is a daily proactive kind of push. It's only to people who are on the highest tiered plan right now, but it's essentially a highly personalized news delivery for you every day based on your context, your calendar, your information, right? It is pushed to you. The second one, which came 4 days after, is OpenAI's agentic commerce protocol, which was co-developed with Stripe that allows agents to securely check out online with a transaction record. Then in October, we had ChatGPT apps a couple of weeks ago. This integrates new, extremely valuable cross-platform data, which for proper advertising, you need that. And then last week, we got maybe not the final piece to the puzzle, but definitely the biggest piece. Because if you seize control of the browser, you can own the entire experience across memory, browser, and checkout. So there you go. Those three things are all in place, especially with the announcement of OpenAI's agentic browser Atlas. This was deliberate. This wasn't random, haphazardly thrown together go to market products that were rolled out. We are going to get official monetization announcements, probably, I would say, by this year. All right, let's get into the 9 reasons in a little more depth. Number one, the burn rate. OpenAI is burning cash. All right. And CEO, a lot of this is according to reports, but CEO Sam Altman has said that they're losing money on their hired priced plans. So OpenAI is projected to burn $8.5 billion this year alone just to keep the lights on. And that's driven by what they say is unbelievably expensive compute costs. Something goes with having some of the world's most powerful models. They're not cheap to run, right? I am one of those people on the pro plan, and I guarantee you OpenAI is losing a ton of money on me, and they have been, even though I pay for like 5 different accounts, 6 different accounts, something like that. They're still losing money on me because even as I talk, I got agents going right now. I got my Atlas browser open and it's working. I have scheduled tasks and scheduled agents going for me around the clock. Right? They're losing money, and the free user base. Yeah, and I've said this all the way back to 2023. Go back and look. I said even at the time, and this was I think like GPT-4, right? This is wasn't even the good stuff. GPT-4 Turbo, GPT-4o. I said even that is worth thousands of dollars, right? A month. And it still is. The level of intelligence and the level of productivity that this unlocks for people that actually understand the technology and teach their employees, it's hard to put a price tag on it. But the free user base has to be monetized, right? Recent reports said that OpenAI's 70% of their total revenue, billions of dollars of revenue, right, comes from individual consumers, not from enterprise, not from the API, from individual consumers. So the thought is many people are going to be mad, right? When personalized ads come to ChatGPT and it's like, all right, well, if you want out of it, upgrade, right? Whether the $20 tier won't have ads, I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. A lot of times I get some information from my contacts at big companies. This is not one of those. This is all just my own thoughts and beliefs from, obviously talking about ChatGPT almost every single day for many years. But there's no other path to true monetization when you're already number one, burning money. It's not a user problem. You got all the users, but this was intentional, right? OpenAI, smart play, by the way. We mentioned this in our newsletter, I think last week. Um, OpenAI and Anthropic 2 years ago, year and a half ago, 20 months ago, were very much could have gone down a similar path. I think Anthropic prioritized being more profitable per user, and OpenAI prioritized users, which is the right move, right? Because when you have 800 million users, weekly active users, you can do what you want. You can turn a switch, and by that point, everyone's worked it into their daily processes. All right, a little more on reason number one: the just the money demands. They're huge, right? We've seen a valuation. The last report said $500 billion. So people, I don't think I saw anyone else talk about this aside from me, right? Right now, OpenAI would be a top 18 company in the US by market cap, right? A lot of people think, oh, okay, they're an AI startup. No, no, they're bigger by market cap than almost every single company in the US and technically in the world. They are a tech giant. They are behemoth, but they're bleeding cash, right? And investors like SoftBank eventually need to see some kind of return on that $30 billion of investment. And According to internal docs from OpenAI, they're not even expecting profitability on the current path until 2030. But they have to have this in place, right? I'm sure somewhere there's a GPT-6 Pro model that's already done all this math and it's saying, okay, well, we're going to roll it out to this many users. This many users are going to churn. This many users are going to pay for it, right? It has to happen. The free users and maybe even the paid users are going to be seeing ads, and companies are going to pay a ridiculous amount. But we're going to get to that later. Reason number two: internal forecasting. And this is obviously very much related to Sam Altman's 180, but there is no other way. Like I said, the single ad stream would be 20% of OpenAI's projected revenue if the free user monetization is forecast to scale. Reason number three, ready for this number? 760 million. So, according to reports from this month, OpenAI, this is wild, y'all. 95% of those 800 million weekly active users as of this month, 95% of them are free users. All right. So this is a potential pool of 760 million people who are, number one, either going to be getting ads that are highly targeted, insanely uh, personal, almost pervasive, right? Yeah, let's just call a spade, right? Think of all the things that people talk to ChatGPT about. You don't put in those kind of keywords into Google. You don't put those things into Meta. The conversations, the level of personal detail, the level of just spilling people's guts, right? Whether it's from a business perspective, personal perspective, a big decision you're facing in life, even something as, you know, topical as planning a trip, right? You're going to be giving a lot more details to a large language model, having an iterative conversation, sharing details versus if you're just going to a search engine, right? But that is 760 million users who are likely either going to be getting served ads. Talk about a huge pool for advertisers to tap in when current markets, specifically Google and Meta, those are your only two real big options. They are saturated, and they've been saturated for years. And this is how I think OpenAI plans to not just win ultimately against companies like Google and like Meta. This is their plan to win. But I think this is ultimately how they become profitable when they've raised that much money. They have bills to pay, y'all, but being able to capitalize on that many users who are putting that much information, this is an unprecedented amount of data that OpenAI has to use, to leverage, and to monetize. Reason number four, the metification of OpenAI's DNA. So a recent report from The Information, which we shared about both on our AI News recap show yesterday and in our newsletter last week. That's why you got to be reading, y'all. So The Information reported that almost 20% of OpenAI's current staff, that's more than 600 employees, are former Meta employees. And a key hire, who I think she is super, super sharp, by the way, Fiji Simo, the ex-Facebook ad lead. Yeah, she's kind of responsible for bringing ads to Facebook's newsfeed. So now she's OpenAI's CEO of applications. And I do expect that she's going to be making some huge moves. And according to reports, she's actively hiring a chief of monetization now to build this ad platform. So yeah, you see how the pieces are connected. Let's talk about reason number five. And we're going to get kind of technical here, but I'm going to try to zoom out. We all know memory. Well, if you use ChatGPT, you probably know memory. You see memory as this option or this feature inside of ChatGPT that brings along more personalization. As you're talking, ChatGPT might pull out certain things that you say, right? I might say, hey, my name's Jordan. I'm from Chicago. I run a podcast called Everyday AI. We train companies on, using ChatGPT Enterprise, right? I might say all these things to ChatGPT, and it's going to pull them out. These little nuggets, and I can go in and I can delete them, turn them off, etc. That's one tier. That's saved memory. But then there's also chat history. Yeah. And that is where the real gold is because some people don't have memory on. Some people might delete things that they don't want ChatGPT kind of remembering, maybe just for the case that they don't want it to show up in other chats. But chat history, that is a legit automated gold mine. This is profiling people probably better than an FBI profiler could because people are spilling their guts to ChatGPT. We saw that when OpenAI, how they really abruptly rolled out GPT-5 this summer, got rid of GPT 4.0, and the collective online world lost their noodles, right? Because it was a very sycophantic model, right? GPT-4 is just like, oh yes, it's a yes, ma'am, yes, sir. It just says yes to whatever you say, right? And people were using it in bad ways, but people became kind of addicted to it, right? So they have this very long chat history where they're just sharing every single detail of their life, every problem they're facing, every scenario, right? They're using it as a journal, uh, right? So OpenAI has this dual memory architecture of saved memories that are manageable by the user, but also a actual chat history. And that profile is huge. There's also, that's where we get into some concerns, both on the ethical side, the transparency side as well, because you technically don't know in that other layer. And I'm oversimplifying it by just saying chat history. It's much more technical than that. But there's some huge transparency concerns. And this, in theory, is every user's worst nightmare, right? Because you probably don't, especially on a shared computer, or if you're using Atlas, if Atlas just becomes your new family browser, eh, you probably don't want to see ads based on everything that you're chatting about. And here's where I'm going to differ from probably mostly everyone, right? We put a poll out in our newsletter yesterday asking people, hey, what do you think about ChatGPT personalized ads? And more than 80% of our audience essentially said some version of, nope, not good. I'm in the minority here. I'm in the 20%. I am absolutely looking forward to it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to probably click and buy every single thing that ChatGPT recommends for me, right? Mainly, I'm using ChatGPT for my business. Not a lot on the personal life side, but I love highly targeted ads, right? Yeah, I have a background in marketing and advertising, sure. Did a lot of work with Nike and Jordan Brand back in the day, their marketing and advertising and comms teams. So I love it from kind of a science meets art meets technology. I love that aspect of it. But even from a consumer standpoint, right? I'm not necessarily embarrassed about anything I'm putting into ChatGPT or Googling. I love being retargeted for things. So I know I'm in the minority there, uh, but you have to think, especially if you're using ChatGPT for business. I think some people, blur the line and they just use it as their life partner, life coach, life everything, right? For me, I'm mainly just using it for business. Very rarely am I using it for anything personal. But even if I was, I wouldn't care, right? I'm someone that's like, hey, big tech, take all my data, but just make my life better. And I think this is one of those things, right? If you look at traditional advertising, I don't think it's worked. I don't think it's worked, right? Otherwise, advertisers would be much happier and consumers would be, I don't know, better off in their lives. But it it hasn't connected yet. But I think just the iterative conversation that people have with ChatGPT, right? And that's why ChatGPT also engages you, right? So they have kind of these new features now where after you go back and forth with ChatGPT, ChatGPT is going to ask you more questions by default. It didn't used to be like that, right? It's kind of a feature, but going after engagement. But what this enables, this dual memory architecture, is it enables a level of targeting based on sensitive life events, probably proprietary information maybe that you're sharing with ChatGPT that you didn't know. Again, if you're on a free plan, because if you're on a paid plan and have data sharing turned off, right? OpenAI hasn't been able to build this kind of profile on you. But if you're on a free plan, right? Let's call a spade a spade. If if you're on the free plan, that's 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 your pay. That's your price of admission. Is OpenAI's been and any company that you're using on a free plan, essentially, they've been building a profile on you, just like it when you go into Google search, right? They're collecting data. That's how the internet works. That's how commerce works. That's how anything online works. But just the level of sensitive information, life events, psychographics, everything, it goes far beyond keywords. What is capable for the level of personalization from ads based on conversations versus keywords? I can't even accurately describe just the uh, gigantic difference between the two. All right, reason number 6, Atlas. You control the browser, you control everything. So it's very early. Um, it's buggy. It's based on Chromium. So it's not like, right? Google has completely dominated both the search market and the browser market for decades. But Atlas is based on Chromium, which is Chrome's open source project. So it should, in theory, be able to keep up eventually with Chrome. Like I said, super buggy. I've been sharing some bugs with the OpenAI team because I love Atlas, but this seizes control of the user's entire web data stream and it bypasses Google. And its agent mode can autonomously complete multi-step tasks like booking flights, like checking things. But um, where I think you also have to look at is there's a browser history as well. So now that dual kind of personalization or dual memory, now you have a third one, right? So you have your memories in ChatGPT, you have your entire chat history, but then you have your browser history as well if you are using the Atlas browser. Oh, and it gets even bigger because OpenAI released apps. And although there's only 7 apps right now, when you log in and you authorize those apps, most people aren't reading the fine print. You're handing over that data. So if you go connect Zillow, guess what OpenAI all of a sudden has? If you save things in your Zillow account and you're looking for, I don't know, a house in the western suburbs at $800,000, whatever, guess what OpenAI knows? Yeah, they know a lot of things now, and they can start to triangulate that with everything else that you're talking about. And again, the level of creepily, maybe helpful, maybe not, but creepily accurate ads that they can spit out, mind boggling, right? So bringing in this app, these ChatGPT apps, it shares the context of all of these different apps and everything that you've been doing inside of there. And I've been talking for a long time about the OAuth or sign in as ChatGPT. That's another thing that's going to be rolling out to other websites as well. They've technically only done it within their own properties, right, on Sora, right? But I think sign in with ChatGPT is going to be rolling out to a ton of online services. Same thing. It's the same thing as apps, just on a different end. It's bringing in so much valuable app context and better ads that they can serve you. All right. We have 2 more. Pulse, ChatGPT Pulse. So a lot of people, well, the reason why no one's talking about Pulse is because it's still one of the few features or modes of ChatGPT that is only available to pro subscribers. So those on the $200 a month plan. I'm not personally a huge fan of Pulse yet. I think the product could be improved. It's not that good, at least for me personally. I'm an extreme power user of ChatGPT. I think for your average, right, which, okay, what people paying $200 a month are average users, but I think the average $200 a month user will find a ton of value. Me, not so much. But the concept is every single day, um, based on your data, based on what you're chatting about, based on your chat history, based on your memories, based on your calendar, if you've connected it inside ChatGPT like I have, it delivers you a proactive, it gets delivered in the morning, a proactive, essentially newsletter, right? If you've used like Apple News and you can, flip through, I mean, the UI, the UX is great. I think for some people, it's going to be very helpful. For me, not so much, but that is when that came out, I said, this is the vehicle for personalized advertising. They're gonna be rolling that out to everyone. I think it's a compute thing right now. They don't have the compute to roll that out to even the $20 plus, and probably definitely not the free, because I think that there's some heavy agentic researching capabilities going on there. It also delivers somewhat personalized images as well. So I'm guessing it takes a ton of compute, a ton of cost, but that is, I think, going to be one of the more effective delivery mechanisms because once people are already used to Pulse, they're like, okay, well, this is normal. It's normal for me to get something delivered to me like an ad, right? That's highly personalized. And I think the lines are going to start to blur between the two. More on that here in a minute. But what Pulse does is it does create just a habit loop, and it is prime real estate for future sponsored content. And then last but not least, we have the Agentic Commerce Protocol, released just about a month ago with Stripe as a co-developer. And what this does is it enables instant in-chat purchases. So right now, there's not a ton of retailers, but there's some big ones, Etsy, Walmart, Shopify. It's actually hard to trigger one of these. So it's not like you can just filter, right? Show me only things I can buy in app, right? I've done a lot of prompts to get it to fire. So I've gotten it to fire. I haven't bought anything because I don't need to buy anything from Etsy or Walmart right now. I'm a Target guy. Um, but this is where OpenAI is ultimately going to be making bank as well, right? So they're gonna be making money on free users because this got rolled out to free and paid users. But OpenAI does earn affiliate commissions. So there's some tricky things that they're not tricky in a bad way, but they're going to be making a lot of money on that, right? And we'll see. Ultimately, I don't know how this is going to be measured or studied, but I think you're going to start to see some people maybe complain, and I've noticed it a little bit myself, right? When I'm using ChatGPT for shopping, and some of it I'm using it for tests, and I'll be searching for something, and I'm like, it's showing me a lot of Walmart results. And this is probably something I would not consider to be buying from Walmart, right? A lot of tech gadgets. I'm like, I don't know. To me, this would seem more like a Best Buy type thing, right? But I'm seeing Walmart, Walmart, Walmart. So I'm pretty sure there's going to become like, okay, is this actually what the large language model would be showing me? Or is this just a way that OpenAI is maybe pushing things that they're making money on? And will they eventually disclose that? Because it's not an ad, right? It's just an affiliate commission. So it's not like, when you see ads eventually in your ChatGPT feed, there's going to be an ad because you have to have that disclosure legally here in the US. But for an affiliate commission, I'm not sure. We'll see. And that brings me to one of the core conflicts. I think we've thought of large language models as a helpful assistant. That is one of the first things in any OpenAI system prompt, right? Is it helpful? It is a helpful assistant. But will that line start to blur now that people are maybe oversharing and using ChatGPT for, I think, way more than OpenAI probably envisioned 5 years ago that people would be using it for? They're using it for every aspect of their life, and both with ads and with affiliate commission responses that get pushed to the top. I think a lot of people are going to be asking themselves eventually, okay, is this still a helpful assistant? Or is this a company now that has to make a lot of money because they have bills to pay, right? And this isn't a knock against OpenAI. Like I said, I'm on the paid plan. I still want the personalized ads. I don't have a problem with the affiliate commissions either. I do think those should be labeled. But at what point? I think one of the things that has helped um, OpenAI's meteoric rise, right? They've given people so much, so many features, very, very great plans, limits, even on free base paid plans. You're getting a lot of technology. You're getting an insane amount of bang for the buck. I think OpenAI and Google are the only two that you can say that about. So I think people have this trust, and they built kind of a relationship or at least a rapport with ChatGPT and certain models more so than others. But at what point now will that start to blur the lines, right? Is it just selling me something, or is it actually still advising me with my best interests in mind? But I think OpenAI needs to do maybe a little bit better job of maintaining transparency to preserve that long-term trust. Like me, if I'm researching products, why am I seeing so many things from Walmart now that I wouldn't think Walmart would be a top 3 retailer that I would look at for certain products? So even for me, I'm like, can I even trust these recommendations anymore? And here's the gist. Ads today, for the most part, are interruptive, right? Even when you're searching something on traditional Google search, who does that anymore? Right? Those top one, two, three ads, everyone just scrolls by. They're in the way. They're intrusive. Conversational commerce, I don't think is going to be uh, I don't think it's going to be in our way. It's not going to be intrusive. It's going to feel natural, right? It's going to feel like it's not an ad because it has and it will have so much context and so much, like such a deep insight into our personal and professional lives. I don't think they're going to feel like ads. Where right now, even as good as Google advertising is or Meta advertising is, it still feels like an ad, right? It's in the way. You're scrolling social media. Oh, there's an ad. It's intrusive. Conversational, no, because you are initiating it, right? It's not like aside from polls, right? Let's pull that aside. But it's not like you're going to open ChatGPT and go to chat and all of a sudden you get a pop-up ad to go buy a pair of socks from Walmart. I mean, hopefully we don't see that. But the deep personalization also will create much higher engagement and conversion. The way traditional marketing and advertising works is you put so much money, time, and effort to get people, to get new customers, new potential clients in, and they generally fall in this kind of top of funnel, right? It depends, right? There's a lot of different ways I could go down this, but for the most part, especially B2B, um, highly valuable products and services, you're paying to get clicks or you're paying to get leads, and that's all they are, right? They're top of the funnel. You still have to nurture, entertain, engage them for a long time. When we're talking about conversational commerce, for the most part, these are probably people that are going to be way further down. So especially early adopters, I think are going to be printing money with this. All right. So you're going to have also a first mover advantage. And Microsoft Copilot and some of their early testing in their kind of conversational commerce ads showed a 73% improvement on the click through rate and a 16% conversion lift over traditional search ads. And that's just right. This is very early on search before you had all of these layers of this onion. So we're going from keywords to context. We're going from interruptions to longitudinal context, psychographics, and inferred intent. Sometimes I think large language models know what you're thinking, what you want, or what you need, even if you don't. And the reason why, and I kind of see this all the time, right? I'm chatting with different large language models all day, every day throughout the day. Sometimes I forget things, or maybe I'm not seeing a connection between these 50 different conversations I had with ChatGPT today, right? Guess who will be able to understand that? Well, OpenAI as an advertising platform, but also the advertisers who are spending money. They're going to be able to triangulate and connect all these dots that you may not even know, right? And I think that marketers, right? So whether you're a small business owner in the C-suite, I think this is going to change the playbook for how advertising works. It is a foundational change. And I do think companies who are on the edge are going to have a first mover's advantage because the competition elsewhere, it is tight, right? Like I said, advertising on Google and Meta, it's not been easy for 5, 10 years. It's crowded. First movers are going to have a huge advantage on ChatGPT because ChatGPT personalized ads are coming. So the trade-off is privacy versus utility, right? It's these personalized experiences that rely on deep user data, but you also get into ethical concerns because like I said, and I'm going to wrap this up here quickly, not everyone's like me, but this is where as a society, I think this is almost going to be a small little turning point, at least in the digital world, right? We're going to have to start looking at these AI chatbots, and OpenAI is not going to be alone. This is going to become the norm for monetizing. We're going to have to say, is this okay? What um, what permissions should be in place, what restrictions should be in place, or should there be none? Because I think the first version is going to be kind of the Wild West, and OpenAI is going to be a driver. And this is so much more. It means so much more for our personal and professional lives. I think there's so many ethical hurdles that we must tackle here, especially with the way that large language models have been maybe misused, but in good ways, right? So many people are finding help and relief from using AI chatbots as life coach, as a therapist, as a psychiatrist, which personally I don't think is a good idea, but people are finding relief and positive outcomes in their life. But what happens then when that gets monetized? Well, that's another conversation for another day. But the end game here, when we talk about from a business perspective, this turns it into a two-horse game. I don't think Meta is going to come out on top here. We'll see what they release on the AI side, on the large language model side, but they're spending money and it seems like they're not making much progress. I could be wrong on that, but I do think that OpenAI's integrated architecture, covering uh, those three pillars, right? Memory, browser, checkout. I think that is something that will actually be able to challenge Google's dominance. I do think eventually Google will follow suit, but it could be quarters or years later until Google does something like that. They're a much bigger ship. It's going to be much more difficult to be able to do something like that. OpenAI still, well, they still run like a startup. They don't have shareholders. Yes, they have people who have invested in the company, but I think right now this contest is no longer about search results. It's owning the conversation and where the conversation happens. And that is the 9 reasons why personalized ads are coming to ChatGPT soon, whether you like it or not. But if you want to be prepared, if your company needs a little more information, we put that together for you. I think this is one of the better kind of guides that we've put together. This is the personalized ad playbook, a 3-in-1 toolkit for any companies launching or scaling AI ads. All right. If you want to get ahead, this is how you do it. Like I said, we could be charging a lot of money for this. We're not. It's free. I like sharing good information that's vetted. So, this is a 7-week conversational launch plan, a high intent offer that doesn't feel like ads, how to write them and some examples, and then the executive readiness scorecard. So if you want those things, all 3 of them, just go repost this on LinkedIn. If you're listening on the podcast, appreciate your support. This is a longer episode. I said 25 to 30. It went to 40. Sorry. But just go look in the show notes, go find this, post on LinkedIn, repost it, and I will send that over. So thank you for tuning in. Please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. See you back tomorrow and every day for more